Hey there, it's Thursday afternoon, the day I talk marriage. I'm Leslie Dories, your marriage coach and the creator of Hero Husband Project and founder of Foundations Coaching. And today I'm tackling what can be a really tricky topic in your marriage. And that's which is more important, the facts of the case or how your spouse feels? And guess what? That's a trick question because I'm not a believer in alternative facts. I do think that what happens is important, but frequently it's not as important as how you and your partner feel about it. Um, a lot of arguments are about, well, you said this. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. And what I tell my clients is unless you have a video camera or a tape recorder, you're probably not necessarily going to agree on exactly what happened. And that's just one way that things get diverted. Another way is to focus on the facts because the feelings are really unpleasant. And, my mom used to tell this story about my dad, who was an engineer. And she would say, I'm telling a story at a party or whatever. And she would say, it happened last Tuesday, or we were at, this Italian restaurant. And my father would chime in and correct her that no, it wasn't Tuesday, it was actually Wednesday. Or no, it wasn't, this restaurant, it was this other restaurant. And what it basically did is made my mother feel really bad. It made her feel corrected. It made her feel small. And technically, my father may have been correct, but he was really missing the forest for the trees. And, I know a lot of people get really caught up in the factual stuff that, well, I didn't actually say that. Or, I came home at 3 o'clock, not really 4 o'clock. The problem is you came home later than you said you would. And this is where you're going to keep the law profession going. It's like this is you're nitpicking your partner's story instead of paying attention to the hurt that they feel. Now, most of the time we don't necessarily correct somebody if all the feelings are good and we're laughing and having a good time. It's usually when you feel attacked that you are going to resort to what I call picking nits. It's easier to focus on what your partner, what your wife is getting wrong than it is to focus on how she feels. And I know that feelings, especially the hard feelings, are really difficult to deal with, especially if there was never any intent to hurt her. But by jumping back into fact land, it really sets her up. It sets you both up to not get at the heart of the problem. I talk about 3 levels of conversation: event, topic, and issue. And the issue level is where we have our feelings, our hopes, our values, our beliefs, our morals, all of the kind of non-tangible things, the things that can't be proven with a video camera. And this is where almost every single marital problem lies, is at one or the other of your issue level. And yes, you can counteract a statement with a correction of facts, but if you're not dealing at the level of the feelings, all you're going to do is make matters worse. If you want your partner to be honest with you, if you want to be honest with your partner, then you've got to get past the facts, right and wrong kind of idea. Yes, you may be factually right, and you will neither be happy nor married, because that is not the way to deal with this. So it's kind of a trick question to ask whether facts or feelings are more important in a marriage, because they both are. Now, once the feelings are dealt with, then it's always possible to go back and talk about where there might be a misperception of the facts. Okay, it really is important to understand what information your wife is using to that trigger her feelings. It's highly possible there was a miscommunication, but trying to correct the miscommunication before acknowledging the feelings is really a recipe for marriage disaster. And I get it. It's not fair. Okay. But fair doesn't necessarily have a role. Now, if something is constantly being misunderstood, that's a different issue that needs to be looked at. But jumping into the self-protection of, well, that's not exactly the way it happened, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to ask if it put down below if that has ever worked for you. Please let me know, because I don't think it actually works. I don't think it actually works for anybody. You don't like being accused of something that you don't think you're doing. Your wife doesn't like being accused of something that you think she's doing. And if you get caught up in fact fighting, in the right versus wrong of the way something is interpreted, you're going to end up with a lot of hard feelings. And yes, I get that dealing with her feelings and possibly even your own feelings is challenging, especially the harder ones. Nobody wants to feel hurt. Nobody wants to feel disappointed. Nobody really wants to feel angry. But guess what? If somebody is feeling that, then that takes top priority. And again, you might not react the same way if the same thing happened to you. That kind of logic and $1.50 will get you a cup of coffee at McDonald's. We get into trouble. You get into trouble when you judge your wife's feelings by how you would respond to the situation. And it might be natural or even preferable to put the onus back on your wife, saying, "Oh, well, she's making a mountain out of a molehill. She's not accurate, you know, and I'm going to find that little way through so that I don't have to deal with this." And let me tell you, you're going to deal with it now, or you're going to deal with it later. And if you deal with it now, you got a shot at it. If you wait until all of these things build up, when it finally comes time to deal with it, it's going to be much harder. Okay. And yes, I get it. Nobody likes to be unfairly attacked. But if you can, find a way to not focus so much on the facts, but really pay attention to what the feeling is. If she's hurt, I know that most of the time the hurt wasn't intended, but dismissing the hurt doesn't make it go away. In fact, dismissing the hurt compounds it. It makes it worse. So yes, you may have the accurate facts on your side, but that's really not what's necessary. And I get it. Especially if there was no ill intent, it's really, really hard not to become defensive. And so this is where I come by my two favorite words in dealing with communication: curiosity and confusion. I'm curious. Where's that coming from? Or I'm curious. Tell me more about exactly what caused the hurt. Okay? I'm confused. Help me understand what about this situation was harmful. Because when you ask those kinds of questions, you're going to move past the facts and into the feelings. Okay? And just like when your little kid falls down and scrapes their knee and cries, you go to comfort them. They're not, they don't have to be taken to the hospital. They're not that seriously hurt, but they're physically hurt. They're crying. And most of the time, what we do is we put them on our laps and we hold them and we tell them it's going to be okay. That's what we are looking for from our spouses. That's what you're looking for from your wife. That's what your wife is looking for from you. Easy for me to say. Okay, this is what you want to focus on, because when we feel heard, when your wife knows that her feelings are being acknowledged and not dismissed, that's when you can resolve the issue. That's when you can go and say, I need to share something. And I realize that it doesn't change some things, but when I feel like I'm being accused of things I'm not doing, then that creates a problem for me. And then you guys can have a dialogue about it. But the first step is always to address the feelings, and then you can address the facts. So let me know if you have any questions. As I said, I really want to know if you've ever been able to address a feeling with more facts. If you have, I really want to know how you do it, because I've never seen it happen. Okay. So I want you to try that. Try using those two words. Try using confusion and curiosity. I tell you, they are almost as magic as please and thank you. So try it. Let me know how it works. And until next week, stay loving.